This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hold on, stop.
Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill. You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
What is going on, and welcome to Take on the World with
Scott, a.k.a. Sebastian McKool.
Joe.
Yeah.
And Matt from the Real Drunks.
All right. We're here today to do another run at pro wrestling and ring injuries. So I'm going to put myself out there because I feel stupid, and, well, you'll all enjoy it. We did this once before, and we spent, I think, a good hour.
Best show ever.
It was good gold material.
Oh, all of it.
And for the third time in my podcasting career, I forgot to hit record. So we waited a couple weeks, brought Joe in for this one, so it mixes things up so we don't stumble over where we were last time. And here we're going to give it another shot. So, Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your show?
Yeah, I'm Joe. I am from Generation Mixtape. I do that with Sarah from Daddy Sports Cards. And I've been loving watching wrestling ever since I was a wee tot with my uncle and my cousins. So, Hulk Hogan on up is what I've really watched, plus the older stuff too. So I like to see the old independent stuff.
Old school, nothing better. Where can they find your podcast and your socials?
Okay, our podcast is at Generation_Mixtape on IG Live. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Music. My personal IG page is Wax Packs and Whiskey, and I do a IG Live with Bourbon and Baseball every Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
Awesome. Mr. Matt.
Matt from the Real Drunks. Do a movie podcast with a couple of my buddies. Drink some booze, watch some good, shitty, indifferent movies, and just kind of talk shit the whole time we watch them. Have a good time. Man, like him, man, my love goes back a long time. Back to when I was a little kid, to the mid-'80s probably. I'll say funny thing is one of my earliest wrestling memories was being in love with Hulk Hogan. Loved Hulk Hogan, and then he got his chair smashed on his back by earthquake, and I was so freaked out when I saw that. And I just fell in love with it ever since.
That is awesome. Where can we find you on socials?
You can find me at The Real Drunks on Instagram, and then you can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcasts.
So I'm also going to interject right here. We are all members of the Deluxe Edition Network. So if you go to deluxeeditionnetwork.com, you can find all these shows right on there, conveniently placed in their categories. Matt's in movies, and Joe's in music, and I'm in history, because we normally do history stuff. And even this is, I try to look at everything through the lens of history. So I'm going back and reminiscing, about old school wrestling, which I love. Beard Laws Podcast. Imagine a bunch of friends sitting in their favorite dive bar chatting about whatever pops into their mind. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's heated, but every time it's fun, and you will laugh at least once during the show. We follow the same bar rules. We never talk politics, religion, or race. So make sure you check out Beard Laws Podcast. Bacon is my podcast. Need I say more? Bacon makes everything better. So this must be a good podcast. The musicians who get together, hang out, drink some whiskey, sometimes invite some guests on, and just have a good time. This is a recipe for fun, entertaining, unique podcast released 2 times a week. Make sure you check out Bacon is My Podcast. Because bacon makes everything better. And Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself. That's enough.
Great. Sebastian McKool. I was trained by this man. Trained in wrestling. Like I mentioned earlier, I really didn't do enough to even bring somebody who did something a cup of coffee. But pro wrestling has always been fun. I loved it as a kid. I'm the oldest person here, but I did love it as a kid growing up. I will have not too long ago, although probably 15, 20 years now. I was down in Philadelphia at a show, and I have a seat, and it's right by the ramp, and I'm wrestling at that point, and I'm too cool for school. Like I'm in the business now. I'm one of these guys. I'm in it. Hulk Hogan's music plays. He comes down the ramp, and I'm very cool. Sebastian McKool. And, he comes by, and I realize I'm on my feet, cheering loudly, clapping like a lunatic. Hulk Hogan just has that. You can, whatever else about him, in person, his charisma is so captivating, you can't help but get on your feet and applaud him. And that's when it really, really sunk in, that the power of pro wrestling and the power of storytelling, this kind of thing. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't think kids nowadays understand the draw of Hulk Hogan back then, though.
Oh, no way.
You know what I mean? Because you hear a lot of the people younger than us at least, always talking shit about Hulk Hogan, and it's like you didn't experience him when we were in the 80s and the early 90s like we did.
At the time, he was the most charismatic.
Yeah,
he was the most charismatic wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, you had Adrian Adonis, who was flamboyant, but he wasn't as energetic as Hogan was. And in the 80s, that was just that's the heyday of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was huge. And he is a big part of why it was so popular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He cared a lot of
agree.
it.
So I'm going to tell a story that I did not tell last time. And I know Scott has heard this, but my interest in wrestling, now, I wrestled for, I could say, 25 years now, because I just had a match this past year. So I extended my 19-year career to 25.
And I heard you got slapped in the face during that match.
I did. Somebody slapped me. It was him. I wrestled as martial law. And when I was a little kid, now I'm a 70s baby. So to turn the channel, you had to sit there and turn the channel. There was no remote control. And you only got about 12, 13 channels, even in the city. So I'm sitting on my grandfather's lap on a Saturday. I'm like 5 or 6. And he's clicking slowly through the dial. And we know what we're going to watch. We know we're going to watch wrestling. Mm-hmm. And he gets to wrestling. He stops for a second. And then he goes 2 channels past. I'm like, no, Grandpa, you got to put the wrestling on. We got to watch the wrestling. So that's where my love for it came in. I lost my grandfather when I was 16 years old, but I did not lose my love for wrestling. He used to take me to shows, and we'd go to the WWF shows and WWF when they first transferred over. We'd go to Allentown Ag Hall one night, and the very next night we'd be at Hamburg Fieldhouse, or vice versa, whichever order, because they were part of the original 7 stops for WWF back in the day. And in fact, when we wrestled with Brutus Beefcake, and he was telling us stories about, I remember going down 22 to York and blah, 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 blah. And so from there, I just wanted to do it. Now, I started in business later, so Scott, not as late as him, but
it was much later.
I was 25 or 26 or 27 when I first started wrestling. And these kids are starting, in Pennsylvania, you can train when you're 18. You can wrestle when you're 18. You can start training before you're 18, but you cannot work as a wrestler till 18.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been in my blood for a long time, and I love it. So I wanted to talk about these in-ring injuries. And
because you love it, it's important to talk about people getting hurt.
Well, when people come to me and say wrestling's fake, that's a good way to almost get punched, because it's not fake. It's entertainment. A cartoon is fake. That's completely made up.
Mm-hmm.
There's real live people doing athletic things, even though I'm 400 pounds, doing athletic things in the ring that a normal 400-pound guy couldn't do. I went off the top rope. My finisher was a swanton. So,
and I can tell you, having him on the top rope, you're laying on the mat, watching him leave that top rope and his body coming down toward you is terrifying. No matter what it looks like on some of these moves, if you see it on television, you see it from this and that. If you're the person laying on the mat and you have a 388-pound man leaping off the top rope, flipping over and coming down towards you, it is terrifying. Like, you just know all you see is this mask coming down. Like, man, I hope he did that right. Because you got nowhere to go. You just got to take it.
So I didn't want to talk about deaths in ring because the list is relatively short, and some of them I don't want to relive. Like we all know, Owen Hart fallen, and locally for us, there was a gentleman, Gary Albright, up in the Poconos, who they do a memorial show for him every year. They ran the show. They didn't have a doctor there. He had a heart attack in the ring, and he ended up dying. So the State Athletic Commission fined him because they didn't have a doctor present, and it's just. And I promoted shows for a long time, and that's one that I would never start a show unless my doctor was there, ever. So, we are. Who should we let go first? It won't be me. I'll go last.
Do you want to let Matt go first again?
Yeah, let's let Matt go first again.
You want me to go first again?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
So you can steal all my stuff.
Let me get my list going here.
So it's a top three, and then
Top
anything left over at the end, we'll just go over. And there was a ton that we really didn't think about until you thought about it.
Yeah, for sure. So my number 3, and this just knee injuries to me. I've had them. It just participating years and years in judo, jiu-jitsu, and just mixed martial arts, and I've had my share of knee injuries. So they just have a special place in the depths of my soul that just make me cringe. And one of the worst that I've ever seen on TV happened at Starrcade of 1986. It was a scaffold match, and it was the Road Warriors versus who was it? The Midnight Express, correct? Yeah, Midnight Express. Mm-hmm. They chased Cornette up the scaffolding. He dropped, supposed to be caught by his manager. The manager was way off the cue, and he landed both legs and then just destroyed his knees. And just looking at that, I cringe. Seeing highlights of that that was my number 3.
I agree with you on the knee injuries because I've had a total of 5 knee surgeries on both knees. 6.
Mm-hmm.
And like the injury that started it all was in the Navy, but then when I was working at another jail, an inmate kicked me and hyperextended that knee, and I remember that feeling. And every time I see someone hurt their knee, I feel it.
I feel it right in my right knee. You know, so those ones I always. I'm sure there's worse injuries that you guys probably have on your list, but to me, that just Number 2, same kind of thing. I've snapped my ankle multiple times, and when you see Sid Vicious in 2001 climb up the top rope, jump off the rope, kick the guy, and land on his ankle, you see that thing snap. I feel it. I feel for him. I feel it. It hurts me. And I walk funny for a few hours after seeing that. So that's the other one. Sid Vicious kicking Scott Steiner in the face and landing on his other leg and just snapping it.
So that was WCW.
WCW.
Sin pay-per-view, January 14, 2001, Indianapolis. It was a 4 corners match. And it was a compound fracture. He broke both his fibula and tibia.
Yeah.
And they said when they took his boot off, he almost bled out from the amount of blood that was in his boot.
Ooh.
So, and he never wrestled again. And it was horrifying. I was watching. It was horrifying.
Yeah, I remember that match.
That
was one of the ones I had.
Softball schedule too, didn't it?
What's that?
Didn't that mess up his softball playing career?
I didn't even know he played softball.
Oh yeah, he was big into softball.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yep, huge into softball.
That's what a sports guy adds to it.
Yeah, right. And then I'm gonna go number one. This happened at November to Remember, ECW 1994, Sabu versus Chris Benoit. And it wasn't anything special, like a special move. It was he threw Sabu up in the air, Chris Benoit, and the way Sabu landed on his neck just broke his neck instantly. And it's just, you just watch it, you're just like, ooh. And Sabu, who's like the most craziest wrestler out there, doing all these crazy moves and putting his life and limbs on the line for the match. And it just this random, threw him up in the air, pop him back down, and just snap his neck.
Yeah, you just never know. You never know what little move off just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we train. Like, so when people say it's fake, yeah, I know how to do the move. And I learn to do the move to protect my opponent because I don't want to kill him most of the time.
Most of the time.
Sometimes.
On
occasion. But people, I think, discount that part of wrestling, the amount of athleticism you have to do this stuff and keep both people safe. And even the guys at the top of their game like that, these guys, accidents happen. Sucks.
Yeah, you got usually two bigger guys. You know, nobody in wrestling's really that small. But two bodies in motion, it just takes, you're off by a slight bit. You know, you push when you a little too much or don't push enough, and it's bad news.
So those are great. Like those are all cringe-worthy.
Mm-hmm. No, I picked the ones that are the cringiest to me. Like, I just put me in pain seeing it.
Yeah. Just I mean, we all did it. When you said Sid, we're all thinking,
yeah. Like I said, as soon as you did that, I was like, yeah, that's what it was. That's the movement right there. Good job, Joe.
All right, Joe, what do you got?
All right. My number 3, Royal Rumble 2005. We have John Cena and Batista falling over the top rope at the same time. He was the winner. We don't know. He comes out.
No chance.
No chance. Comes running in like a boss. Blowing out both quads. Vincent Kennedy McMahon's double quad tear.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting there.
Yep.
Barking out orders. It was one of the strangest things I've ever seen. I don't know.
But he didn't miss a beat. He didn't miss a beat. He just sat down and he's like, I'm going to sit here and tell y'all what to do. You going to listen.
Yep.
Perched himself up in the corner, sitting there, just screaming and yelling at him. And you're sitting at home watching, it's like, what the fuck just happened? What is going on right now?
Yeah, exactly. Me and my friends were all watching that pay-per-view. We're like, what the fuck? What the fuck's Vince doing? What's he doing?
Yeah.
And I can definitely say, having had to run down the ramp, kind of slide into the ring, I've run down, go to slide in the ring, and I've hit my thigh on the edge of the ring. It hurts. Like, you get up, you got the Charlie horse and everything, and it hurts. And that's why when that one always comes back, I had that one on my list for that same reason of tearing both your quads at the same time, and you can't stand up, and then the show goes on. He doesn't miss a beat. Mm-hmm. It just keeps going. Like, the man can't stand, but you don't. Yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely.
Say what you will about his whole what's going on with him and in the news and everything. The dude was a showman and he knew how to do it.
Oh yeah,
he was a genius when it comes to that stuff, and he did not skip a beat. Never has. He took what happened and rolled with it. You know.
Yep.
What else you got?
Absolutely did. I have this next one. It was an independent injury, independent match. but it was with Sean Waltman doing the Bronco Buster in the corner, and he tore the gooch when he tore his gooch.
That's my last one. That was my honorable mention.
Yeah.
The fleshy love pass.
When he had
yes.
the sphincteroplasty.
The grundle.
The grundle.
He blew out the grundle.
Yep.
Ooh.
That was
Basically,
my
he
number
tore his
2.
anus.
Yes.
And
And
he went ass first into the turnbuckle, and you could see blood through his signet when it happened.
yeah.
And he had to be taken to the hospital, and that's exactly what they did. A sphincteroplasty was the name of the surgery.
That's what it's called. That sounds like something South Park would make up.
I know, but I actually looked it up, and when I saw it, I'm like, okay, I got to check this out because I don't believe that. And I went, and it's an actual.
I gotta fact check this one. This sounds fake. This sounds made up.
They said they performed a sphincteroplasty for a ripped anus.
Mike D, we'd like to talk to you about your search history.
Oh, shit. If someone dies around me, the way I research true crime and stuff, someone dies around me, the cops are going to come right to me. Okay, can you explain this? Well, I do a podcast.
Likely story.
Yeah. Those are good. Those are good ones. And most people wouldn't have known about the X-Pac one. And I had that on my list as my surprise honorable mention, and you took one from my list. Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad I could help.
I like
The
that we
rest
all
of them are
chip
gone right
away
now.
at it.
I'm gonna try and get the rest of them right now.
Yeah, we're gonna chip away at his list.
And my number 1, Armageddon 2006. Ladder match.
Ooh.
Joey Mercury gets fucked up. That's the most blood I've ever seen in
yeah.
the WWE match ever. So that's my number 1. It was just seeing him wearing that crimson mask
Yeah.
unintentionally, but that screwed him up. I gave him pain pill addiction and everything. It just
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have the information on that one here. It's December 17th, 2006. It's a ladder match, 4-way fatal ladder match between Eminem, Dave Taylor, William Regal, Paul London, Brian Kendrick, the Hardy Boys. And they were setting up for a teeter-totter spot, and Matt Hardy leapt from over the rope over Joey Mercury and landed on the other end of the ladder, and the ladder popped up and just destroyed his face. It destroyed his face. He went directly from the ring to the hospital, and the injury diminished his mental capacity, and he ended up with a painkiller addiction. So, and that's what you hate to see.
Yep.
You hate to see something that's going to end someone's career, but you really hate to see that it be the downfall of their life.
Yeah.
So that's another good one. And it was on my list, so thank you. Chipping away.
So for my 3, since my Vince McMahon one was taken, I do have a substitute for that one. Now you're going to notice a theme in mine. Because that Vince McMahon one, only because I took a shot kind of like he did, and that was in my brain when I went to stand up. Oh, please work. Just because when I saw Vince take that thing. Oof. So my number 3 is from July 20th, 1995. Taz, the human suplex machine, working Eddie Guerrero. He was with Eddie Guerrero, and they've taken on Too Cold Scorpio and Dean Malenko. And during the match, it was an assisted spike pile driver from Scorpio and Malenko, and Taz landed on his head, broke his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we really didn't do. We weren't trained to do and never did are pile driver type moves.
Yeah, so in the organization that I ran, that was a banned move. No one was allowed to do a pile driver because too many people got injured doing it and it wasn't because of neglect or anything. It's just, it is a hard move to control someone's body with that amount of force, getting their head that close to the mat.
Yeah, and that's what was the start of Taz transitioning over just be a commentator, because you can only have so many neck injuries before you can't do a whole lot.
Yep.
So my number 2, keeping in that same thing, was SummerSlam 1997, Owen Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Owen picks up Austin to do a pile driver. Austin's just a little low. Austin gets his neck broken. Again, a pile driver move, which is why I'm glad we didn't learn it. We never did it. It was sort of a banned move for us. The fact that Austin was temporarily paralyzed, like he's in ring, he's paralyzed. Owen's got to stall for him to Austin to get something going. And it just kind of shows that even if you break your neck, the show must go on. Like it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. And it was, I think you realized watching the match, hey, I think something just happened because he's not really moving too much.
That didn't look good.
Yeah. And then my number 1, which to me is the worst one, is Draws, wrestling under the name Puke, October 5th, 1999. Now this one's
Coliseum.
Yeah, this was a little different. D'Lo Brown was doing a running power bomb, and D'Lo Brown just slipped. Something was in the ring, something was on the mat a little bit, and he just slipped. And when he slipped, Draws hits the ground or hits the mat and was dropped on his head, broke 2 bones in his neck, and was permanently paralyzed. He's still in a wheelchair. They tried to do surgery to try and fix the swelling and everything, but he ended up being paralyzed. And that to me was, the neck injuries were always something that I was very paranoid about. Like, I don't want to break my neck, and I didn't want to break somebody else's neck. And there's a lot of times when you're moving, especially if you get thrown somewhere, when you're at the mercy of gravity and the skill of the person that's got to catch you or do something else, it's a big moment, and I've had a couple times when I'm in the air, actually taking a body slam from somebody. And as you're going over, the one thing I did like is that he knew how to make you land nice and flat. It doesn't make it any easier or less painful, but you didn't get dropped on your head. More than once in training, we've seen people come down on their faces, learning to come in the hard way.
every rope on the way down.
Yeah, coming in the hard way is you got to commit to it. You got to go. You got to launch yourself in, and it's a big move. If you don't, we did have one of the other trainees who went vertical, paused, and then boom, came straight down, hit every rope with her face, and then hit the mat
With her face.
And me and one of the other trainees, we kind of jumped down and we were like, well, that's it for tonight. I think we're all done here, because I don't know how you get up from that. Bloody nose, I think, but was okay overall.
Yeah. Took it like a champ.
So those are my 3, all neck injuries and 1 paralyzation.
Awesome.
Well, is it awesome to get your neck?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the right choice of words, but
I meant it was an awesome list.
Yes.
Well thought out.
It's a pretty cool list, you could say.
No, I wouldn't say that. So when I was wrestling, we were doing something, I forget what it was, and Love Bug was in the ring before me. My partner was my partner until he passed away last year. And he was in the ring doing something. He got thrown over the rope as I was coming into the ring, because it was some kind of gauntlet type thing. And he dislocated his shoulder. And the doctor had said that dislocation was the worst he had seen. His bone was on top of his pectoral muscle.
It was inches away. It was moved out inches, not like 1 or 2, like several inches out. I mean, it was noticeably.
So he's in all kinds of pain. I go to the hospital. I show up, and the doctor says I might need help resetting this. And I'm like, well, is it going to hurt him? And the doctor says, oh, it's going to hurt like hell. I said, I'm in.
I think you all would have helped out with that.
So he screamed like a girl, But we got that back in.
Yep.
And we've both been injured multiple times. I actually ended up with a spinal concussion once. Someone came off the top rope and landed right on top of my head. I was on the outside, and I went down, and for about 30 seconds, I couldn't move my legs. But this is how the business works. The guy who came down on me hit the ground and rolled over. He knew something was wrong right away. He went to pick me up. He goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." And he just looked up at Lovebug. Lovebug instinctively jumped out of the ring and started hitting him before he could pick me up. And the whole time, Lovebug saying, "You know, are you going to be able to go? Are you going to be able to go?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I can't move my legs." So they're about to roll it in and take it home. And finally, I get up, stand on the apron. I roll in enough. I don't know if we won that night or not. I don't remember.
I think you did.
I roll in enough to do the cover and just lay on the mat, and like 4 people helped me to the back. And then slowly the pain started going away, and I could. But what I didn't realize is I was concussed. And on driving home, I stopped for gas, and the lady at the gas station called the cops because she thought I was drunk. So the cops come out and give me a field sobriety test. I failed. And they said, "Would you do a breathalyzer?" Absolutely. I haven't been drinking at all, which is odd because I usually do.
Well, you don't drink and drive.
I don't know. No, I don't.
Right. I've driven you home, so I know.
And I blew 0, and they're like, "Oh, would you go for a BAC to the hospital?" I'm like, "Yeah, I wasn't drinking. I'm not getting a DUI for something I wasn't doing."
It's good you went to the hospital.
So I went to the hospital, and I'm sitting there, and this doctor walks by me, and he looks at me. He goes, "What are you here for?" I said, "Well, they think I'm DUI, and I wasn't drinking at all." He said, "Did you get hit in the head?" I'm like, "Well, I was wrestling, and someone came down on top of my head." He calls the nurse right over, sends me up for an MRI. I have swelling in my neck to the point where the doctor said if they had let it go, I probably would not be here.
Oh, wow.
And the doctor goes over to the cops and he starts yelling at him like, "What is wrong with you? You can't tell someone they had a head injury, and who trained you guys?" And he's yelling at him. And then he looks over at me, just gives me a little wink like, "I got your back." But that was scary shit. That was scary shit.
So I get a giggle when he talks about his neck. So we were learning the leg drop, and he's laying on the ground, and he says, "All right, we're going to do, practice the leg drop, and you want to lay your leg right across their neck." And then he was like, "Sebastian, show him what a neck is," because Marshall, as a larger man, doesn't exactly have much of a neck. Indefinable.
Yes. So I'm gonna do my 3. They're in no particular order because to me they're all.
And we took all the ones off your list that were in order.
Well, no, actually, you took less off my list than last time. I don't know how that happened.
You revamped it.
Yep.
I didn't change my list at all. I remembered some of our honorable mentions so that I could throw them in if I had to, but I'm going to go with Living Dangerously, March 12th, 2000. New Jack, the original gangsta. He was going to make this list one way or another because he's been injured so many times. And this is the infamous match with Vic Grimes. He took a pizza cutter to the head. They battle through the crowd. They climb this scaffold. When it's time to go off the scaffold, Grimes don't want to go. And New Jack just grabs him and pulls him. So they go all the way to the ground. Concrete. Grimes falls full force on New Jack. New Jack suffered a fractured skull, a broken leg. He sustained brain damage, was permanently blinded in his right eye. And he came back to wrestle again because they had a Vic Grimes New Jack grudge match, which was even more brutal because New Jack beat the life out of Vic Grimes.
Man.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he also have brain fluid come out too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like that's a bad fractured skull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brain fluid should not be on the outside.
No. So my second one is Big Van Vader and Stan the Lariat Henson at All Japan Wrestling New Japan,
Oh,
December 7th, 1990. Henson accidentally broke Vader's nose with a prop prior to even the bell being rung. And during the match, Hanson was throwing punches and caught Vader in his eye with his thumb. The eye popped out of the socket, and Vader is walking around the ring, and you could see the eye bulge under his eyelid. Vader popped that eye back in and finished the match. Like, to me, that's ridiculous.
yeah. Oh, hold on.
Like,
okay.
Yeah. Eye injuries are like knee injuries for me.
Yep.
Like they're just.
Yeah, that's just the fact that he pops it back in. It's like, no, hey, we're good. Let's keep going.
There's a couple more on my list that they'll be on the honorable mention, but I'm looking for their. Where is? I'm looking for one in specific. Oh yeah, this is it. So it's Sabu versus Terry Funk. Born to Be Wild, August 9th, 1997. It was barbed wire wrapped ropes.
You could almost stop there.
Yeah.
Like you could just, all you need is the title. It's Sabu, Terry Funk, barbed wire ropes. The ropes are wrapped in barbed wire.
Now, they didn't wrap each rope individually.
Right.
They just took barbed wire and went around all three ropes. They went around two, then went on the bottom two, and then all three. And they overdid it so much, it was ridiculous. So Sabu is in this extra violent match, which is...
or a match.
Or for him, just a match, yeah. Both him and Terry Funk ran each other's faces along the barbed wire. Now, I will probably say that the barbed wire was gimmick. Maybe the sharpest edges were taken off.
And you could probably ease it up a little as you're doing it.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's but at one point, Funk wrapped barbed wire around his wrist and was hitting Bill Alfonso, the manager, and busted him open. He tore his bicep doing his air Sabu off a chair. And if you watch this match, you can see him with this 11-inch gash on his arm and the meat hanging out. And he just takes the tape off his wrist and he wraps it tight around his arm and goes on with the match.
Brutal.
Yep.
Terry Funk gave him a neck breaker over a steel chair, and that was the end of the match then. So they had about a minute and a half after he tore his arm open that he just was bleeding and went on. I don't know how close he was to bleeding out because there was so much blood.
Yeah.
And it was hard to tell if it was all from that or from the rest of the match.
I think that was one of the matches where they actually got caught up all in the barbed wire too.
Yeah.
That they're caught up in the barbed wire and you're trying to get out of it, but you're just tearing, getting cut everywhere just trying to get out of it. Oh.
So
yeah, I don't think I'd ever want to do those.
No.
I was never a fan of hardcore, like doing hardcore. I liked watching it.
Yeah.
But I was never a fan of doing it. And
because somebody you'd have to take some heat then. And
well, even like our trainers put us over for the titles we did a cage match 3 weeks in a row in 3 different places. So it was Cage Terror 3. And on the third Cage Terror is but they told me if I don't gig, they're not giving us the titles. So if I don't bleed, there's no title transfer. So my partner, Lovebug, took that seriously, and he filleted himself open pretty good. He had to be stitched in the back.
Ooh.
And I bled. Not much.
A little bit.
I'm kind of a germ phobe. So I don't want my blood around other people's sweat and their blood. But I did get a little blood trickling. It was pathetic.
Hilarious.
So Mick Foley as Cactus Jack. He's another guy who could be on this list like 50 times.
Oh, yeah.
Foley versus Vader. WCW European Tour, Munich, Germany, March 16th, 1994. Foley gets hung up in the ropes in what was supposed to be a hangman spot. It was planned, except the ropes were too tight, and they couldn't get Foley's head out of the ropes. So they end up basically finally getting him free by just ripping his head through, and it tears off his ear.
Yeah, because it would have killed him. It was cutting off his circulation to his carotid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is, if you ever watch it, it's disturbing because you could see like the panic.
Yep.
Because he couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And they rip off his ear. He just almost died, and he finishes the match. And that was like in the middle of the match.
Yeah.
Legend.
So, yeah, I know.
Yeah. People think like Mick Foley, and they think, oh, get thrown off the Hell in a Cell cage onto the table would be the worst thing. He even says, no, that was not the worst thing. That, what you just said, was the worst thing he ever experienced.
Yeah.
Well, that one couldn't have been the worst thing for him because he doesn't remember much of the match because he ended up taking like 30-some headshots from a chair.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Well, I believe he even said, though, with that Hell in a Cell match, what hurt more was getting chokeslammed through the top of the cage into the ring. Hurt more than getting thrown off the cage.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that's my 3. There are tons of others. So if we want to go and just kick a few around the room.
I do have one that I want to start with. It's wrestling adjacent. So a friend of mine was cutting some trees.
You know what?
And he's cutting some trees. Now, he's very careful. You know what I mean? He's making sure that the trees are falling. They're falling away from him. And he's always got this thing down. And so he cuts a tree. The tree falls. But that tree hits another tree, which causes that tree to pop up, just like the ladder did and when we mentioned before. Mm-hmm. That tree pops up in the air, and it catches him right at the scar right here. And, he almost knocks himself unconscious because he got hit in the head with a tree.
I am very careful when I cut trees.
You are very careful when you cut trees.
Obviously not.
Well, that day, it was like the season finale of 24. We have satellite dish, and the trees out back were blocking the dish. So it kept on going out. I didn't want to miss the season finale of 24. So I went back. I just wanted to cut the tree down real quick. Usually I'll make like 4 escape lanes and make sure everything's clear so I don't have to step over anything. And I didn't do that. And I dropped that tree right where I wanted it. But there were dead trees on the ground, and that cantilevered over. And as I'm walking away, I hear something. I'm holding a running chainsaw. I throw it because I look up like this, and it comes down right across my forehead, breaks my nose. I had these big black raccoon eyes for like 2 weeks. I go down to one knee, and all I can see is blurry red because there's so much blood. And I'm looking at the back of my house. I'm like, who's going to take care of those kids in that house? Like, I can't die now. So I get up, I walk around the house, I go to the front door, I yell into my mother-in-law. I said, don't let the kids come out, and call Chuck, my neighbor. So I go down to Chuck's. I get down there. He's like, oh, what'd you do? And I'm holding a towel on my head, and I see my daughter running down our driveway to my neighbor's house. And I'm like, I told her not to leave her out. So she comes up, she hands me my wallet and the phone. I know why. She sent her down with my wallet and my phone. I did appreciate that, but I didn't want my 12-year-old seeing me all bloody like that. And she looks at me and she says, because she's my daughter, she says, that's a lot of blood. I guess you're going to miss 24.
See, when you were saying that the first thought was your kids, I thought you were going to say, my first thought was, who's going to watch 24? Now, did you miss?
I know it.
Did you miss 24?
I don't think I ever saw that episode, and I never watched it again.
That was just a bad omen, huh?
Just left a bad taste in your mouth.
I'm like, I'm done.
And I'm not going to say we didn't rib him hard every single time we saw him after that, because wrestlers would never do that to each other. We're a very kind, caring group of people.
That sounds about right.
You can't have feelings.
No.
So, Matt, you got any others to throw out there?
I have one, and I don't think we talked about this last time. And you will probably know better about this than I would, but this just pops in my head, and I could be remembering this totally wrong. But I believe it was in 96 or 97. It involves another scaffolding. It was Perry Saturn.
Oh, yeah.
Dropping off the scaffolding, and I believe he dropped an elbow. I want to say it was either Dr. Death Steve Williams or I forget who else it was. It could have been. But he landed and shattered his elbow. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Did he shatter his elbow on that elbow drop?
It shattered his elbow.
That's
And
what I thought. Yeah.
I don't know how much he wrestled after that.
Oh, he wrestled in WCW and WWE after that, didn't he?
But it was
That
only
happened
like
in like 90.
it was only
that was
like
like
2 more
90
years.
No, that was
faded
like
away.
90s. He didn't fade away till the 2000s. So it was like at
Really?
least another 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Because this
He had
happened
that-
like
He had that stupid moppy gimmick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because that scaffolding happened when he was with the Eliminators in ECW, when he was with John Kronos.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was, in like 96, maybe 7 tops. So that's what I was thinking about.
Anything else, Joe? Any others you got there?
Yeah, I had one Starrcade '99 when Goldberg pretty much ended Bret Hart's career with that that wild kick.
Standing sidekick.
Yeah. So that was my honorable mention.
That's all Bret Hart talks about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that and the screw job.
Yeah.
I feel like he talks about Goldberg more now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right about that.
At least with the screw job, you still had another wrestling company to go to. Now you can still wrestle, but
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Bret Hart. I grew up loving Bret Hart.
oh yeah, same
But,
here. But
he is such a bitter old man that I
He is.
cannot listen to him anymore.
That's something I like to tell Marshall all the time. Some people age like a fine wine. Some people age like milk.
So
Clumpy
always-
and bitter.
Yeah.
Bitter, sour, smells bad.
Well, they used to bust my chops that I was very salty.
Oh.
So, like, I was mad about something. When you run shows, it's nothing but stress, and especially for me because I feel like I have to control every little thing. Okay, settle down. I admit it. And I came back to the locker room, and it wasn't even our. It was our show, and I was just mad about something. And they
Is that the
started
Garfield.
They started to call me like Morton Salt Shaker, and then.
And he was just getting more and more angry. Like he is getting furious because, they're calling Morts or Salt, and just, oh, look who's salty again.
So our dress room that time was a kitchen. And
Yep.
he turns around and on top of a pizza oven.
It was Bob. It was Lovebug.
Was it?
It was Lovebug.
I thought it was you.
No, it was Lovebug.
Oh.
I would never.
Yes, you
I
would.
would never.
You would. There's a bottle of what's it called?
It's a Mexican salt seasoning.
Tahine?
Adobo.
Adobo, yeah.
Yep.
There's a bottle of adobo on top of the thing, and Lovebug goes, in Espanol, adobo. And like it broke the mood. So I
Because he put it right. There's that moment where you could just see the fury on Mike's face, and he's just furious. And in that little space of thing where everyone's like, "Okay, we went too far," that's when Lovebug comes in, and he just has a little jar there, and he's just like, "En español, adobo," and we just like everybody, even Mike, we all lost it at that point.
It lightened the mood. It was good.
Sometimes you just need that.
Yep.
I remember Eddie Guerrero's frog splash too. When he dislocated his elbow. He came off the top rope, I don't even know who he was wrestling. I don't know when it was, but he came down at the top rope and he hit that mat and you could just see his elbow dislocate and he immediately rolls over and holds it. Of course, finished the match.
Yep. I remember out in York, Pennsylvania, one of Dirty Deeds shows, a certain young, spry martial law climbing up to the top rope to do a swanton. And as he's pushing off the second rope, you hear this very loud, very distinct ping. That was the second rope breaking. As he's pushing off of it to stand on the top rope, he gets up to the top rope, teeters for a moment, and then you hit the ring apron on that one, didn't you?
I hit the rope, the ring apron, the floor,
Yep.
all on the left side.
Yeah, so he just falls all the way to the floor. And again, Lovebug seeing this happen, we're all seeing him just splat. And the show must go on. So now that Lovebug again has to cover for you and carry you through another match.
I got a couple more on my list. I got HBK, Undertaker, Royal Rumble, January 18th, 1998, the casket match. Injury took place when he took a back body drop over the rope onto a wooden casket. The lower part of his back hit the casket, causing him to herniate 2 discs in his back and crushing one. That injury cost him 5 years in the ring.
Yep.
They thought he'd never wrestle again, but he defied all odds and came back at SummerSlam 2003.
And that didn't look like that bad of a
Yeah.
bump that he took. Just seeing
No,
that.
it was just the way he hit that casket.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things. Plus, he had back problems too
Yeah.
already.
Mm-hmm.
That was very similar to British Bulldog when he was wrestling and there was that trap door and nobody told him about a trap door in the ring, and he took a body drop onto it and bop, fucked up his back, and that's what got him addicted to painkillers.
Yep. Yeah, there's always a lot of spinal, back, neck injuries. It's a tough business on the back and neck and body, and any body part that you have. You kind of
did that one.
Did we do the one? I'm trying to remember the wrestler's name. It was this farewell show. Keikoa was putting it on. It was just a farewell show because Keikoa was such a fan of this wrestler, and I think it was Lovebug and Martial Law. I'm pretty sure it was Martial Law, and Martial Law was going to the top rope, and he was going to do a swanton off the top rope again. His kids are there in attendance, right there at ringside. You know, looking up at their father, all proud, watching him get to the top rope. And then watching him lose his balance.
But you got to set the scene. It's in the middle of a baseball field.
True.
So
good crowd though.
It's diamond text on the ground, and I go up to the top rope, and like we were main event.
Yep.
Because it was my retirement. It was our retirement match.
Yep.
And the rope was loose. So when I got up there,
do you want some more excuses? High humidity? Anything else? Do you want to throw that in there?
I got up there and I started losing my balance and I couldn't gain it again because the ropes were loose. And I know I'm falling, but the ring stairs are right there. So I know I'm going to have to launch myself over the stairs if I don't want to hit them. So that's what I do. And I hit the ground and I was in so much pain.
That was nothing but ground.
I know. The doctor came over and he's like, Marshall, you okay? I'm like, Doc, I'm not, but I'm going to be. I just got to get back in there. Well, because it was an over the top rope match, I basically eliminated myself.
He did.
So Lovebug had to go in and finish the match. And then usually me and Lovebug used to dance in the ring with the kids after our matches. So both of my kids slide in the ring and like they're both in tears. And then, like my son's, Dad, are you okay? I said, no, but I'm going to be fine. I'm in pain now, but I'm not permanently hurt. I said, my pride's more hurt than anything else. So 3 times I fell off the top rope in my career. Do you want to bring up the third one?
I don't know the third one. I only know there's 2. I was only present for 2 of them.
Good.
So now you could tell us.
Yeah. You can't leave us hanging like that.
It's the same thing. Another rope broke. Actually, a turnbuckle stripped out, and I actually didn't fall all the way to the floor. I just fell into the ring.
Yeah.
But it was still embarrassing.
We had, because I just ran into him at the Parkway, Rodney X. We were doing a show in a fair. Which fair was that? The Cement and Fair?
Yep.
So after a show, Cement and Fair, it's raining. Again, you don't stop just because it's raining.
Oh, no. The rain was Jacob Paul's show.
Was that Jacob Paul's show?
That was
still at the fair.
That was the fire company.
Was it?
That was down at the fire because it rained and we didn't think we were going to be able to go on, and we did.
Okay. But it's Rodney X, great wrestler, good friend. He's a good guy. He's getting ready to do one of his things when he gets in the ring is he just grabs a hold of the top rope and just flips over, lands on his feet. And he jumps, and as he's jumping in the air to flip over the top rope, his hands slip off the rope. And he kind of twists his body a little bit and falls all the way to the ground. It's a long drop. That's a long drop when you get yourself above the top rope all the way to the ground. And you just heard this really sickening, that splat sound. He landed on his back, but you heard it. The ref runs over to him, and he's just standing there. We're thinking like, oh, there's no, like, he's got to be hurt. Because it's just pavement. I mean, he just landed on pavement.
It was on asphalt.
Yeah. And the ref comes over to him, and he's like, Rodney, you all right? Rodney's like, yeah, I'm okay. And then he goes, you can see Rodney looks kind of dazed. He's a little out for a second. The referee's just like, looked at him real serious. Do you know your name? And Rodney's like, course I know my name. Like, what's wrong with you? And then we're like, oh, no, he's fine. He's good. Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he got all pissed off because the ref was asking, like, what's your name? And he was like, look, I don't know my own name. And I was like, I think he was trying to ask you if you had like a concussion or something. He was like, rah.
Any more real ones?
Real ones. What about the Sabu breaking his neck again, getting a transmission plex onto a table propped up in the corner?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't think he'd wrestle again after that. Because
There were many matches you didn't think he'd wrestle again.
Well, you know what? The dude was just suicidal.
Yeah.
And you the last time we did this when we didn't record, and I can't go back and look because I didn't hit record. We were talking. You said he's going to have a farewell match soon.
I didn't say that.
I thought you did.
I know. I remember somebody had said it. It was one of us three, but it wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Well, because I said the last time I saw him, he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And somebody else said that they had heard he was going to wrestle again. I never heard that.
You know what? That might be the one that happened today.
Could be.
I think that might be the show that's happening today down in North Carolina or Georgia or something. Because Mongoose was going to go down for it.
Oh.
I don't know if it was him or Sting. An AEW
Sting.
show.
I think Sting's last match is tomorrow night.
Okay.
That was his final one, where he's
Then it wasn't
wrestling
separate.
with him. It was him and Darby Allin are wrestling the Young Bucks, I think, for his farewell match.
Young Bucks.
Yeah.
I
They
wrestled
ain't
them.
that young anymore.
No.
I know.
No, middle-aged bucks.
When they first
So-
started out, I wrestled them.
Nice.
Wow. Speaking of, did you guys happen to see that Ric Flair spot with them the other night?
Poor Rick.
It
Yeah.
was not that was just not good.
No.
No, I saw him on some thing on YouTube, Kill Tony. You ever see that?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, I did see what you're talking about.
He got up and left because he said, look, I'm not about just, putting people down and I didn't sign up for this. And he was pissed off, got up and left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then after he left, they were still talking shit. And the one guy said, well, I hope he left the building. They said, no, he's upstairs watching.
Yeah, you do have to watch that. There's been a couple times when you have people, fans or something, jump in the ring or start getting towards the ring. And man, you'll get guys out of the back. That does not go over well at all.
Actually, that happened down at Sellersville. And they came in the ring while Mongoose was in there. Those kids got their asses beat. They got out of the ring. This is the best night of my life. Like they're all
Oh, good Lord.
they're all bloody. They ended up coming back and training and actually became relatively good professional wrestlers.
Huh.
Dang it.
You know who I'm talking about?
I don't think I do.
Oh.
Or at least I don't know the beginning. I don't know that beginning story.
Icarus.
Oh, really? I would not have guessed Icarus to do that.
I think it was him and Hollow Wicket. Bob.
Yeah.
They jumped in the ring while we were wrestling and Mongoose just lit them. It was ugly.
I can definitely testify that when you first start off wrestling and you're just trying to remember the moves and remember all the things, and you've had a lot of training. And I mean, we were 3 times a week, twice a week, 3
Twice
hours.
a week, you think? 3
It
hours.
was like 3-hour matches. So you're 6 hours a week of training.
and then wrestling Saturday, Friday.
You're going through all this stuff. But when you first start off and you get hit with your first moves, and you have to first go against someone that you don't know, never met him before, haven't worked him before. Because if you train with somebody, 6-8 hours a week, you kind of know them. If it's one of your trainers, you have that level of trust. But if it's somebody you don't know and they're large, it's terrifying. You have no idea what it's going to feel like because some people work a little stiffer than others. And I've had a couple times, Big Bone Brothers, when that was one of the first things that I did, coming in as that. And one of the guys is picking me up. It was Rockin' Rebel.
Ugh.
And I have a mask on. The mask is twisted.
The Rockin' Rebel?
Yeah.
The Rockin' Rebel.
Yeah.
He was actually in a number of my first matches that I had. But the mask I have on is twisted. I can't see anything. And he's picking me up. And he was like, do you know a suplex? And then I was like, we just learned it. And he was like, you're fine. And he picks me up and he throws me from ring post to ring post doing the suplex. And it was fine. It was totally protected and everything. But man, I felt like I was up in the air for half an hour. And I thought for sure when I came down, this is going to be devastating. It wasn't, but it was terrifying.
Yeah, the Rockin' Rebel.
Yep.
Yeah, I just listened to a podcast about him, and yeah.
I kind of had a love-hate relationship with him. Like sometimes he'd be the best dude, and other times he was just a douche.
I only came across him as in ring, especially when I was new in green, and I can say that he treated, mostly because of the respect that he had for him and Lovebug and the Hardway guys, Jake and Paul. I got treated very well. Like I felt very protected, very taken care of. So I don't have the same kind of. I worked adjacent to him down in Triple WA with those guys, but I didn't really have the same.
No, I had more interactions. With him.
Interactions. That's what I was looking for. Different interactions. Wrestling is a difficult thing because it's a lot of ego.
What?
Yeah,
Not with me.
no,
Not at all.
And you'll have two guys that maybe dislike each other a lot and maybe wrestle really stiff, only up until the point that one of them might get injured. You can see two guys that really dislike each other. And when they're doing chops or throwing punches, they're laying that stuff in. Some of those kicks, they're laying those things in there pretty well. But when you're doing the moves and everything else, even people who don't like each other, you still have that respect. You're still going to protect them just to make sure that maybe they land a little harder, but they're not going to land wrong. You're not going to injure somebody intentionally.
I will say this. I've had an outside the ring, let's say, scuffle with somebody to the point where the promoter almost lost the building because of my actions. And they were the guys who trained me. I'm like, look, if you guys aren't going to use me anymore, I understand. I was wrong for what I did. It was disrespectful to you, and I apologize. But you whatever punishment you dole out, I'm gonna take it. And they said, no, you're gonna work for us, but you're working him next month. And we got in the ring, and it was one of the best matches I had. Respectful, like he was professional, I was professional. Even though we both wanted to punch the shit out of each other, we got in the ring, and there was just that mutual. We didn't want to. I wanted to kill him that night, but
That was a good match.
it ended up being a great match. But even then, two guys who obviously had heat for each other because we were throwing punches for real. And then we walked out of the ring, we shook hands, and we really didn't have that issue again. So
It's good.
that's the business.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good way to bury it.
Well, we all walked out of that ring knowing that was a hell of a match, and now I would never
Kind
say
of found common ground.
Yeah.
I would never say I'm the greatest wrestler who ever lived because I'm not. But between me and my partner, we were great entertainers. There was a dynamic between us. There was chemistry, and
You and the other guy.
yeah. We every place we went, we got respected by the fans. We got respected by the promoters because of the way we carried ourselves, with the exception of my one slip up of throwing a punch at someone.
Yeah, because you only threw a punch at somebody one time.
Sometimes you gotta get somebody to rap on the beak.
Exactly.
Give a little respect.
It was fun to at a show. I felt it was my job to kind of help assist the show, make sure things are going to run right, make sure things are going to be smooth, try and take care of the little things, but also get him right to that point where he's ready to lose it. Now, he doesn't go over it, but he's right there. And then somebody else will come along and say something, and then he snaps, and then it's entertaining for the rest of us. now. His blood pressure, like it probably shortened his life by a good decade or more, just because of the level of stress that we put him through. But it was also very entertaining for us. So you have the yin and the yang of professional wrestling.
But I put a lot of that stress on myself too. But
It was your
You
fault.
certainly did not help.
I did and did not help.
Yes.
Because I know it's a lot of work. Putting on a show is a huge amount of work, and there's so many little things. And I know I tried to do the best I could to try and keep up with stuff, but it was tough to do. But it was also it's just a kind of.
The fact is, there's some people I just couldn't stay mad at, and he was one of them. And the reason was
Shockingly,
I could not have run the shows that we ran without his help. So
I almost want to do the love bug right now, just to be like, oh, you know what? I want to continue this one. I got a call. I got to go take a call. He was infamous for, we're just getting ready that we need to like put the ring together, which is really the worst job. We're tearing the ring down, which is you're busted up, you're injured, you're bruised. You just had this long match. Now you got to take the ring down, and it's heavy. And you got to carry that stuff in there, but you're like, your shoulder isn't working right, or your elbow doesn't feel good. Your hands are, mangled, but you got to carry all the beams out and all this kind of stuff, load up a truck, drive that truck somewhere, and then unload it from the truck into somebody's garage. That's the side of wrestling that people, the glamour side that people don't get to see.
You don't realize.
At 2:30 in the morning, you're in somebody's garage and somebody's got a flashlight because there's no light in the garage, and you're just trying to carry everything in.
and then you go to Pizza Hut, you can't get a damn beer.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we did a good one again.
You hit record, right?
It is
Yeah,
recording.
it's recording.
It's recording. When you guys get off, I'm going to record for another 5 minutes just to be sure. So why don't you, Matt, start and pump your show up again? And
Yeah, like I said, The Real Drunks, you find us on Instagram at The Real Drunks. That's REEL, like movie reel. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, you'll find us. Our latest episode I think is hilarious. We actually had another podcast on from the network, Bez Video Kingdom. We all live in the same area, so they came out to our place, and we recorded with two of their members the movie Porky's.
I didn't listen to that one yet. I did not listen to that one.
Yeah, which is one of my favorites. And what was great about that episode was our co-host, my name Jake's co-host Daniel, had never seen it before.
Really?
He had never seen it, so we were like, "Oh yeah!" So we got to get his reaction. And one of the funniest things he talked about was when a line that he said he had not laughed that hard in so long, and it was where they're going to see Cherry Forever. Do you guys know this part?
Yep.
At the very beginning, we're going to Cabby's Cherry Forever, and Pee Wee tells me, he goes, "You can't go first. You'll rim her out so bad nobody will feel anything." So yeah,
I have
check
not
it
seen
out.
that movie in so long. It's on my list to listen to because I listen to you guys and Bevs all the time.
Yep.
And it's I love movies, so, and I also love music. So, Joe, tell us about Generation Mixtape.
Yeah, me and Sarah from Daddy Sports Cards will pick an album out each and every week, and we'll review it track by track, keep it, skip it, then we'll rate the entire album, what we recommend it, and our rating systems are different each and every week. So this past week, we released the Notorious B.I.G.'s Ready to Die album. Me, personally, I gave it a 4 out of 5 lazy biggie eyes. So each and every week, different album, different rating system, and once a month we'll have a B-side episode. Last month in February, we had, top 10 love songs, a top 10 sad hate songs. And coming up, since we are sports fans also, we are having the songs of victory for your baseball team. That's coming up.
Cool.
Nice.
And Matt, I think I cut you off before you gave your socials.
Oh, I socials just at Instagram at The Real Drunks, REEL.
All right. And Joe, yours?
Ours is Generation _Mixtape. You can listen to us on like Podbean, Apple Pod, and SoundCloud, and Spotify. No, not SoundCloud, just Spotify. And you can also follow me on IG at Wax Packs and Whiskey.
All right. And you can go to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. All these shows are on the Deluxe Edition Network, so it's on that page. Just look for them, click, and then keep coming back to Take on the World, because that's me. No ego here.
None.
Guys, I really appreciate you coming on. Matt, this has been a work in progress for almost a year.
It's been on for a while. Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for a while.
But who was it?
Chad
was going to come up and do it. He canceled on me 3 times, and I had to message Matt. I'm like, Matt, I'm so sorry. He didn't show up again. And then this time I said, look, you're coming up, and if you don't show, we're just going to do it.
Right.
We're just going to go ahead.
Like,
and do
I'm
it.
not going to show.
Stop. It could happen.
It could.
So, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. I can finally delete the list off my phone now after a year.
I've been carrying around these papers now for ever since. Like, he let me know a couple days before.
Yeah.
Well, he told me the idea, and then it was a couple days before. Oh, hey, I don't think Chad's going to show. Can you come up and record? I was like, yeah. When do you want to do it? And he's like, 20 minutes. Can you beat?
Yeah, I had a year to plan.
Yeah.
So we took on our top in-ring injuries. You guys go out and take on the world. That's it.
That's it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank